What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Jaguars Fan Battle podcast. I am your host, Matthew G. Sports, joined by my co-host, Cody Cold Gaming,
What's up,
and our
everybody?
special guest, Jarrett Bailey. Cody, you want to go ahead and introduce our special guest here?
So, first team all recess, NFL writer for the U.S. Today, deputy editor for BT Steel Curtain, host of one of the greatest podcasts ever made in history, The Pump Fake, part of the Believe Network, and PFWA writers member, Jarrett motherfucking Bailey. Let's go.
What's up, boys? It's good to be here.
Was that good enough?
That was good. No, that was good. I've never had anybody read back my Twitter bio to me before, so that was a first. This is I appreciate the invite.
Well, I think my favorite part was the first team all recess. That's
I think having something just stupid and snarky or some form of just goofiness is like a requirement for me. It's for the longest time, the last part of my bio was down yonder at the Chattahoochee, but I changed it to first team all recess. So that's I always like to have something fun.
Well, that might trigger those that were always picked last, right? So I'm just
right.
Just kidding. Well, cool. Well, we're glad you came on today. Like he'd said, for everyone that's listening and watching, he does focus mostly on the Steelers, but he also does for USA Today covers.
Oh, here, hold on. I didn't even realize that this was hanging here. I've got some Jaguars hanging behind me. It's the worst helmet in the history of football. But I got this. When did I get this? I got this my freshman year of college. So this would have been 2017 that I've had this. So
where'd you go to college, if you don't mind us asking?
Yeah, no problem. I'll hang this back up. Which it wasn't fault. Yeah. Okay. I went to Slippery Rock University, which is about an hour north of Pittsburgh. I'm not good with directions. It's about an hour from Pittsburgh.
Okay. Cool.
2017. That's a good year.
That was
for Jaguars fans. That was a good year. Yes.
Yeah. It was an illusion, honestly, but we'll take it.
A weird fever dream.
Yes.
Oh man.
It was weird, but we kind of all knew it deep down. We all knew Blake Bortles. We all knew the guy didn't have a natural throw. He just played a lot of football growing up, and so that kind of got him to where he was. And the amount of touchdowns that our defense scored in 2017 was unrealistic and no way possible to replicate. So deep down, us Jaguars fans knew it wasn't possible to carry on what happened that year, but we had hopes.
It's understandable.
And it didn't help that we destroyed the Patriots at the beginning of the next year. So
that did happen. Yeah. That was a thing. I think Bortles actually played respectable that game too, if I do recall.
Yeah, it was a great game.
In Jacksonville.
It was a continuation of that mirage that we were witnessing, and then the real Jaguars showed up. So.
I feel like they started off 2018 like really solid too, weren't they? Like 3-1, because that Patriots game was early on in the year, and I think that got them to like 3-1 or something like that. And everybody was like, "Oh, you know what? Maybe that wasn't such a facade." And then I think they finished the year like 6-10 or something. And
yeah, it all came crashing down. So
it
was a team of a bunch of me's, not a team. So that was the biggest problem. So starting off today, Cody's we're going to go over some games within the division as well as games outside of the division for this upcoming season. You know, we could talk about the preseason. Let's be honest. There's not a whole lot going on. Most teams have figured out who's going to be their starters. Right now, we're just going to figure out who's going to be working at Burger King next week. All right.
that Rourke kid was fun. I'll say that. I enjoy watching him. Hopefully he makes the Jaguars final 53.
Who?
The backup quarterback that's thrown all over the yard.
Nathan Rourke.
Yeah. Sorry. Yes. No, that's an interesting situation. I like him and what he brings to the table, but I bring back our consistency, right? The guy that's been there for a couple of years, and he's gone in for Trevor Lawrence a few times for a handful of plays, and he's been respectable and hasn't lost us any games. So I say bring him back.
Well, you've got now this year they can roster 3 quarterbacks, so I assume Who's even battling for the third spot outside of him?
There's nobody.
Okay, then he'll probably get a roster spot then if you can have 3. What the hell? Why not?
Right. If they keep him, because there's no way that we can stash him away on a practice squad. He'll get picked up.
Oh yeah, he's a preseason hero. He'll go somewhere fun.
Robert from YouTube says Miles Jack wasn't down, which is still very much true.
The freshly retired Miles Jack.
He did. I was kind of hoping he'd come back and at least sign a 1-day contract with us, retire, but I don't know. Maybe that'll happen later.
Maybe.
Then he says we are not keeping 3 quarterbacks. Who knows?
Doesn't count against the. I think that's what the new rule says. I'll have to go back and
it doesn't count against the 53-man roster.
Correct. Yeah, you can keep that third because of what happened with the 49ers.
Right.
That was the rule that they wanted, was because they don't want to have a situation where Travis Etienne is going to have to be the emergency quarterback. So if you have a third, it doesn't count against the 53. So in all likelihood, every team is going to keep 3.
That was such a weird situation because you knew Purdy was hurt. The other team knew Purdy was hurt, but they still kept on trotting him out on the field to at least hand the ball off, which was weird.
Yeah, it was a weird situation. And then it was Josh Johnson that came in and he got hurt, and then they had to resort to put McCaffrey in, and it was a whole mess. And the league wants to avoid that.
Yeah. Counts against the 53, but not 46 on game day. So it's like, so what is it like in between the practice squad and
something of like that material?
It's upside down.
Weird wording from the NFL owners.
Okay. All right. So let's dive into the schedule, if that's cool with you guys. Cody, why don't you take it away? We're going to go over the division first. And yeah.
I mean, to start this off, and I wrote this earlier today, the Colts have an ownership problem. Titans can't stay healthy. Texans are in a year 2 into a 3 or 4 year rebuild. And there's people telling me the Jags aren't winning this division. I mean, that's insane to me. And I'm not sure how you feel about this or whatever, just in the overall division. I know that people are saying that this is one of the worst divisions in football. And they got rights to say that. But a lot of these teams are coming up. Jaguars are under Doug Peterson now with Trevor Lawrence on their second year, right after a playoff run. And then these other teams that just, they're getting new quarterbacks. So it's like, I don't understand how other teams in my division can say just trash talk the Jags, to the point where it seems like we're still the 2018 Jags or, before. You know what I mean? It's insane to me. So I was just wondering, let's start with the Colts. Let's start with the Colts, for instance. What would be your opinion on their season?
The Colts, I think, will be fun, not good, but they're not going to, just roll over every week. I don't think anybody's going to want to see the Colts on the schedule late in the season. They're going to be well coached. I like Shane Steichen. I like the hiring. He's going to make things as easy as he can on Anthony Richardson. I like the way that they drafted too, because it's clear that they had what's the word I'm looking for? They had a vision in mind. They took a bunch of athletes that were scheme fits. I like the selection of Juju Brents and Darius Rush, both cornerbacks in the draft, who I really liked. We'll see with this Jonathan Taylor thing though, and that's something that's above Ballard, the GM. That's something that's above Shane Steichen. Jim Irsay kind of screwed the pooch for them in that situation. They're giving him permission to seek a trade. We'll see what team ends up winning those sweepstakes and what they get in return. This is a foundation-laying year, though, for the Colts. They're not going to be contending for a playoff spot. They're still figuring out some stuff in the offensive line. Defensively, they've got guys. If Shaq Leonard can stay healthy, he's good. Zaire Franklin has proven himself as a really solid linebacker. Stephon Gilmore isn't there anymore, but I think that with the additions that they made through the draft, I think that was just their goal this year, just to build for the future. They knew they weren't going to be contending for a championship. We're going to see a lot of those young guys in the secondary, and there's going to be some growing pains, especially early on in the season. So I like Richardson. If he comes anywhere close to his potential, he's an alien that we haven't seen before at quarterback. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he becomes, especially under Shane Steichen, who, we saw what he did with Jalen Hurts. I think if he can finally tune Richardson's accuracy, and that's not going to be a one-year project either. It's going to take some time, especially in a foundation-laying year. I think they're going to be fun to watch, but I think best case scenario for them is they win a couple games that they probably shouldn't, 6-11, 7-10. I think it'll probably be closer to the latter, around 6 wins.
Solid answer.
What kind of value would you put on oh my gosh, I feel like a fool right now. They're running back.
JT?
The running back. What?
Jonathan Taylor.
Yes, thank you, JT. What kind of value would I'm seeing across the interwebs around 6, like a second round pick, or a combination of like third and fourth. What do you think?
I think it'll hover around what the McCaffrey deal was. In terms, it just depends on the team. Like if I'm the Eagles, I'm giving them next year's first round pick, because what do the Eagles need? They don't need to have a ton of draft capital. They've got their team for now and the future after this past draft. So if you're a team like Philadelphia, who is, you were this close to winning a Super Bowl last year, you lose Miles Sanders. They still got a fine collection of backs. They got Penny. They got Swift. You got Jonathan Taylor behind the best offensive line in football with AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. I give a first round pick as part of a package. If I'm the Eagles, other teams that could be in, like, I don't know. My friend JP Acosta from SB Nation said that the Rams could be, like, if Les Snead just does this again, because the Rams draft next year looks like a normal NFL team draft where they have a lot of picks. If he just says, "Yep, I got picks, time to trade them for proven guys," and just does this whole thing again, it wouldn't surprise me. The roster isn't good though, and I don't think trading for a running back should be their first priority. But if I'm a team like Philadelphia, I would give a first round pick as part of a package for Jonathan Taylor. If that's like a first and a third next year, and then in 2025, like a third and like a conditional fourth, something like that. I would have to look at the entire trade details for what the McCaffrey deal was. Something similar to that, where it's similar to what the 49ers were. What did the 49ers really need? They have a borderline perfect roster. They could afford to give up what they gave up for Christian McCaffrey. And I think it'll be similar for a team like Philadelphia, like Baltimore, if they wanted to make a move for Jonathan Taylor. I think Chicago is kind of an interesting team to throw in there. So there's a few teams that it makes sense. If I'm Chicago, I'm not giving up a first just because there's much other needs. Having Jonathan Taylor would definitely be nice, but they've got, especially defensive needs for the Bears. Right. But a team that's already, like you could say, is a playoff team, a Super Bowl contender in Philadelphia, I would give up a first.
I heard Miami was front runner, or I guess a good fit possibly.
I think that's a team that a lot of people are penciling in. They were doing the same thing for Dalvin Cook. It wouldn't shock me if Miami would do that. And we talked about the 49ers. The Dolphins are, monikered as 49ers South, in which, their coaching staff, the way they operate, how their offense works, would not shock me at all if they went all in and tried to get Jonathan Taylor too. In terms of a first round pick for them, maybe. I think that they still have. I would like to see them get a little bit better offensive line wise. Now, their offensive line did show improvement last year. Austin Jackson's looked a little bit better. Teron Armstead, though, is dealing with injuries again, and that's something that you worry about if you're a Dolphins fan, because without him last year, their offensive line really struggled. So that'll be something to pay attention to a little bit. I think that Miami is a good fit. It's just a matter of what they're willing to give up.
Right. I can see the Eagles. Because with the Colts, from the Colts' perspective, you possibly get a first round pick, but you also get them out of the AFC, pushed over to the NFC. So,
yeah. Now, conference-wise, I don't think that's too much of a worry. They're not going to trade him within the division. I don't think teams worry too much about conference trades and whatnot. I mean, sure, is that nice to get him at? Sure, but I don't think that's going to be any sort of like priority.
Sort of changes the conversation of running back value in the NFL. I mean, they go from, them not getting paid as much as they want to be paid, all of a sudden to like, they're worth all this draft capital. And then when they go to those teams, they're still going to want that bank.
Well, I've written about this a lot this offseason. It's not the running backs' fault that they're not getting paid. It's the teams that draft them. Because you look at the best running backs in the league right now. You look at Saquon Barkley. You look at Josh Jacobs. You look at Derrick Henry. You look at Austin Eckler. All of them went to teams that have had Saquon Barkley, for instance, drafted by the Giants in 2018 when their roster was a toilet. Mm-hmm. They had no offensive line help. They didn't really know what their quarterback of the future was going to look like. They didn't have a great defense, and they took a running back. It's not the 1980s or the 1990s where if you take a workhorse running back, you're going to have a chance at the playoffs and you can turn your franchise around. It's not going to happen. So it's bad team building and it's bad drafting. And the Raiders, they took Josh Jacobs in the first round. He led the NFL in rushing last year and didn't mean a damn thing because the rest of the roster sucks. So it's not the running back's fault. They deserve their money. They're talented enough to get paid. It's where they go. So it's not Jonathan Taylor's fault he's not getting paid. It's not his fault that he spent his prime years on a bad team. He deserves to get paid. He's talented enough to get paid. But the best role for a running back is what Christian McCaffrey is to the 49ers. And again, similar situation. Got drafted by a team who stunk with him. It didn't matter how good he was. The team stunk. But you take a great player and put him on an already great team. That's what a great running back should be in today's NFL. Another complementary piece to a good team to make them a great team. The 49ers were a good offense. You get Christian McCaffrey, you're borderline unstoppable. That's what the modern NFL running back, the modern superstar running back should be looked at. And look, Christian McCaffrey's not making a ton of money. Derrick Henry's making a lot of money. There's guys at the position that make a lot of money that are successful. In terms of Henry, like, they had that one magic carpet ride where they went to the AFC title game, but outside of that, they haven't had a ton of playoff success. And I think that's where, you got to start talking about, okay, what's the running back's value as a receiver? Because Derrick Henry doesn't really have that. And while he's great and everything, and he's single-handedly carried the Titans to any sort of playoff appearances that they've had, no one has ever looked at the Titans and said, oh, man, yeah, they can definitely win a Super Bowl. No, they can get to the playoffs, but once they run into a team with a real quarterback and a real offense, they're going to lose. So I don't blame the running backs. I blame the teams that draft them and their bad team building, and it screws these guys in terms of getting second contracts and making big money.
So I laugh because if you run into Titans fans that I ran into or whatever, they claim that they do have a good quarterback and they do have good wide receivers.
I mean, at the time, like the year that they went to the AFC title game, like Tannehill played really well and AJ Brown was great. And AJ Brown still is great. But the reason that their numbers were that good is because they ran play action deep balls. And they were I think at that year, AJ Brown was like third in the league in receptions of 40 plus yards downfield. Because they ran play action, everybody was stacking the box trying to stop Henry. And if you got AJ Brown downfield one-on-one, odds are he's going to win that more often than not. So I think a lot of those stats were padded because you had Derrick Henry, who everybody was worried about. That's not to discredit Ryan Tannehill or AJ Brown or anything like that, but there's context for that.
So your argument almost plays into the owner's argument, right? Where you're saying a great running back, their perfect fit is complementary to a great team, right? Because a great running back coming out of college into the NFL is typically going to be on a bad team, right? And they can't carry that team, as we saw with Christian McCaffrey, right? Yeah. But when you get a quarterback coming out of college into the NFL, a lot of those quarterbacks, the great ones, can carry a team into the playoffs and maybe beyond. So I guess that's kind of what I can see where the NFL owners are coming from, where like, we want to pay you, but you're not the quarterback who's carrying our team.
That's their own damn fault for drafting him. Like,
right.
Like if the Giants don't want to pay Saquon Barkley, and now to the credit of Joe Shen and the new Giants regime, they didn't draft Saquon Barkley. That was Dave Gettleman and his just horrid mind of trying to build a team, and he was horrible at it, and that's why he's not there anymore. So I understand where they're coming from with that.
Right.
But if you're one of these teams who does draft a running back and you're still the same regime who's there when their contract comes up and they've performed well and they deserve their money, and you're saying, I don't know, I mean, why would we give a running back that much money? Why the hell would you draft him in the first place then if this was the end goal? So I don't know. Well, it's a slippery slope.
Especially with Saquon Barkley, right? He was there when they were horrible, and now that they got a good coach in, they got a good scheme in, it's like, hey, screw you, thanks for all your help, but now that we're good, we're going to kick you to the curb. We don't need you anymore. Where it's like, you need that complimentary piece, man. The guy's proven himself, and he can keep doing it. So,
and even then, like, no, but at least I don't. The Giants don't scare me whatsoever as like they're not a Super Bowl contender.
Yeah.
So like, even the fact that he's still there, that doesn't move the needle really for them. Does it make them like a more dangerous offense and a potential playoff team? Sure. But I think their ceiling is what we saw last year. They can beat like a more mediocre, overachieving Vikings team, but the second they run into a real threat, they're going to get their asses kicked. And we saw that multiple times. Anytime they played the Eagles and the Eagles could have been bothered to show up and cared about winning, they got destroyed. And I think that's kind of their ceiling with Daniel Jones and the way their roster is currently assembled.
Couldn't agree more.
All right, Cody. So the Colts. Who's next?
So we got pretty much covered the Titans. I mean, I feel like it's
Let me put my graphic.
You talked about Derrick Henry a little bit, and that's all they really have. So let's go to the Texans.
The Texans are. I think the Texans like sneakily could be fun. Like you don't want to play the Texans. I think they could win. Would I be surprised if the Texans won like 8 games? No. Like their rosters. You look at their secondary. Derek Stingley, when he was healthy last year, was good. Jalen Petrie, solid. Jimmy Ward followed D'Amico Ryans over from San Francisco. Will Anderson looks really good. Offensively, once Howard gets healthy, that's a solid right tackle who they just paid. Laremy Tunsil's a top 3 offensive tackle in the game on the left side. Their offensive line's good. They got a good collection of running backs with Singletary and Pierce. Only thing that worries me about them is their receivers, but even then, Tank Dell looks good in the preseason. I think that they're going to be in the Marvin Harrison Jr. sweepstakes next year in terms of trying to get a real legit number 1 outside threat because they don't really have that right now. Like Nico Collins isn't scaring defenses, like keeping defensive coordinators. I'm no disrespect to Nico Collins, but so I like the direction that the Texans are going in. I think Bobby Slowick at offensive coordinator is going to be a good addition. D'Amico's got a good head on his shoulders, and I think he's going to be a good head coach. I think 7-10 is probably where I'm going to pencil them in at. I think they're going to be a tough out every week. They're not a playoff team yet, but would it surprise me if like 2024 they're like a 9-win team clawing and scrapping for the 7th seed? No, I think the future is bright for Houston.
Yeah, around like 2025, you think?
I'd say even 2024 they could be a team that's contending for a playoff spot.
Okay.
Should we see CJ Stroud progress?
Right. I think that's a good
Yeah, the Texans, I don't like the Texans because they're in our division, right? But I'm also hesitant because us as a Jaguars fan, we've been there before, right? We got the shiny new coach. We had 1 billion draft picks, and we drafted a lot. We drafted high, and all these their draft scores were off the charts, and everything looked good. And then we bring in these overpriced free agents that have proven in the past, and we're like, yeah, we put all this together, maybe we'll do well. And we're hearing it from the Texans Fan Battle. It's our sister, our little sister network, where they talk about where they think we could possibly compete for the division. And I'm like, you guys got to pump the brakes. Again, we've been there, done that. If you win the offseason, typically you're not going to be winning the regular season. It's just kind of how it goes. If you have a quiet offseason, I mean, look at the winning teams. The Chiefs, you didn't really hear much. I mean, I know that their defensive end, they're having contract negotiations there, but outside of that, you don't really hear much out of the Chiefs, who are Super Bowl champs. And out of the Texans, all you hear is just turnover, which I know they needed because they had so many holes on the offense and defense and the coaching staff that they needed to do it. But it's like you're putting the pieces in place. Like you said, give it a year or two, let them mesh, get their system in place. People figure out each other, and maybe in a couple of years you guys will be competitive. But also, I think they suck. So.
I like the direction that they're going in. I think this year, like I said, I don't think anybody's gonna like want to see the Texans on the schedule because I think they're gonna be similar to they're gonna be like the AFC's Lions, like of prior to last year, Dan Campbell's first year, where they're not gonna win a ton of games, but they're gonna beat the hell out of you throughout the game, and you're not gonna come away happy that you played the Texans, even if you do win. So I think they're gonna be a tough out. They're gonna be tough defensively, and I look forward to seeing what D'Amico does with that team going forward.
What do you think of their quarterback situation?
I think Stroud's going to be fine. I think mechanically he was the most sound guy coming into the draft. Everybody's going to make a big deal about. I think everybody did make a big deal about his first preseason drive ending with a pick. He looked good against Miami. He made a few really solid throws. Points weren't really there, but I mean, it's preseason. A lot of the offense is dummied down, and it's just trying to see how the offense itself would work rather than push the ball downfield too much. You just want to get the offense down. But he made a few really good throws. He made a throw running to his right that was fit into a window. I can't remember who it was to, but the progression is definitely the sparks are there with him. I think it's going to be a year where yeah, he's going to take his lumps. He's going to have moments where he looks like a rookie, but I think he's also going to have some plays where you're like, oh, okay, that's why they took him where they did. So I think he's going to be fine. If all goes well, he'll be in the running for Offensive Rookie of the Year. But I'm looking forward to seeing how he progresses throughout the year.
Yeah, you kind of alluded to it too. Their offensive weapons are severely lacking, and I think that's going to hurt him. Also, historically, the Texans are just not good on their offensive line, and I'm not sure if they did too much to beef it up this offseason. I know they made a few moves, but
I didn't really need to beef up the offensive line because the two tackles were already good. Interior wise, they look fine too. Like, I'm not too worried about their offensive line. I think both their tackles are good. Like I said, Howard's dealing with an injury right now, but I've got to look on the the injury report to see when they expect him back, or if he's already. I have to catch up on what the Texans are doing injury wise right now. But Laramie Tunsil and Howard tackle. I'm not too worried about CJ Stroud staying upright all year. Now, once pressure does get to him, how is he going to respond to it? Is he going to get quick feet, scared feet, and bail in the pocket? Is he going to look? That's going to happen. He's a rookie. This is NFL. It's going to be his first year of NFL action. Those things will come, and I think he'll end up being fine.
Right.
I mean, he went all 4 rounds with Georgia when he was at Ohio State. And a lot of those guys are now playing for the Eagles, and they're on their front 7 in the preseason, whatever. They look great. So, I mean, they look NFL ready already. And if you take that into account, and again, DJ Shriver and what he did to that Georgia defense, it's like I was nervous as a Georgia fan in that game, and now I'm like that transfer of nervousness is going into my division. So I'm hoping that he doesn't get good, but he probably will.
Okay, so moving outside of the division, we're closing in on the finishing line, but I wanted to go over 2 games. The first game is a game that I'll be attending myself, and that is December 4th, where the Jacksonville Jaguars play host to the Cincinnati Bengals for Monday Night Football. Now, I believe we'll be in the 12th or 13th game of the season, so we're going to kind of know who is who and kind of divvy up who the best from the least. And so going into the regular season right now, if you look at all these rankings, the power rankings, obviously the Bengals are typically pretty high, anywhere between 1 and 5. I'd say 3 and 5 probably, but the Jaguars are in the top 10 of pretty much everybody's ranking. So Monday Night Football, again, we're pretty deep into the season. We're going to know what each team is and where they're at. If both teams go in healthy, again, we're playing Monday Night Football in Jacksonville. Who do you think has the edge there?
I think Cincinnati still has the edge just because their defense is so much better than Jacksonville's, at least on paper. I think the Jaguars' offense is going to be fun. Like, I think Trevor Lawrence has a very good chance of being MVP this year if we see him take another leap. And just the weapons that he has around him. But defensively, like, outside of Andre Sisco in the secondary, there's not a lot I love there. Front 7 wise, like, their linebackers I need to see more from. I think that Josh Allen's going to be fine. They brought back Dwayne Smoot, which Jaguars fans seem to be pretty excited about, which is nice. And we saw a lot of role players kind of step up late in the season last year when they were going on that late season run to win the division in the first place. So I'm not so much worried about their front 7. I just want to see somebody be kind of like that, the leader of that group, and kind of take over and establish themselves as the best player. And then secondary wise, like I said, like, Rayshawn Jenkins is a dog. He can be in my locker room whenever he wants. He's not who I want starting at safety. Like I said, Andre Sisco, he's great. But I would have liked to have seen them address that a little bit more.
What was your opinion on Tyson Campbell?
I think Tyson Campbell's good. I think that having him back there will be nice. Now, I will say this about the Bengals as well. They lost both Jesse Bates and Von Bell. They bring in Nick Scott from the Rams. They drafted Dax Hill in the first round last year in preparation for losing at least one of their safeties. So we'll see how their rotation of safeties looks. But look, they've got DJ Reader, who's one of the best interior defensive linemen in the league. They got Jermaine Pratt, who is quietly one of the best off-ball linebackers in the league. Sam Hubbard and Trey Hendrickson, like, they've got dudes that have made names for themselves, and They don't get a lot of shine because of the offense with Burrow and Chase and Higgins, but they are just as important to that team and their success. And I think that DJ Reader missed time last year, and then he came, especially that Titans game when he came back, he was a force. And I'm looking forward to seeing him healthy all year, and what he'll provide in terms of being that interior presence that he is. So roster-wise, I think the Bengals are still better. Jacksonville does have the benefit of not just playing this game at home. I think the vast majority of their big games were played at home this year. So that's they got a nice roll of the dice there. But if both teams go in completely healthy, I'm still giving the edge to Cincinnati.
Okay. No, that's fair. I'll be honest. When the schedule was released, there were 3 games that I was like, it was almost a coin flip for me. That's including my homerism. And obviously one was the Chiefs, the Bengals, and then the 49ers, just because the 49ers are just from top to bottom, they're just such a well-built team and a well-coached team. So the Bengals, I think it'll be super fun because I think we're going to have, if everyone's healthy and everything's firing on all cylinders, it'll be such a fun offensive game to watch. Especially with the Jaguars at home, it'll be a lot of fun for us Jaguars fans. It's been, I want to say 2010 or 2011 was the last time I think we even just played in a Monday Night Football game. So as a Jaguars fan, it's nice to see us not only get to play in them, but this year we've got a Sunday Night Football game at home and a Monday Night Football game at home. And obviously the Thursday Night Football, I believe we're playing in the Saints, playing at the Saints. So, and you said
from 2020 when they played 16 1:00 games.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we're but
I'll say this though, prime, like your favorite team playing in prime time, at least for me, I hate it. I love the 1:00 kickoff window.
Oh yeah.
If the Steelers could play 17 1:00 games, I would sign up for however to make that happen. I hate when they play in prime time. I don't know why fans seem to enjoy when their team plays in prime time. I hate it, but if you guys like it, then kudos. I'm very happy that your team gets a few prime time.
It's just because I guess because like small media market, we're not getting enough national attention.
The validation.
So yeah,
it's the league saying, hey, you guys are legit
viable.
Because it's all about the dollars, right? More eyes, more dollars, yada yada. So anyways, I'm with you on that. I'm kind of 50-50, but my homerism tips me towards the Jaguars. So the second and final game I want to talk to you about is against your Pittsburgh Steelers.
Mm-hmm. That game is what, in Acrisure, right?
It's in Pittsburgh, yeah.
Let's see, that's what I thought. What week is that? I don't know off the top of my head.
Dang it,
I think it's in October, isn't it?
It's October 29th, yeah.
Okay. So it's like what, like week 7, week 8? Somewhere in that vicinity.
8, yeah. 8.
Okay. Yeah. This one, I would have to look at both team schedules because I think momentum is a big thing. Just on paper, I think overall, similar to Cincinnati, like the Steelers, I think have a better roster overall. The Jaguars have a better offense and a more proven offense, and I believe in Doug Peterson and Trevor Lawrence a hell of a lot more than I believe in Matt Canada. So I think the fireworks offensively for Jacksonville is what I would bet on more. Steelers defense though is going to be good. It's going to be very good.
We're coming off a bye week, just slipping that in there.
Oh, even better for Jacksonville at that point. So I mean, if I had to gun to my head pick, I'd probably lean Jacksonville. Would I be surprised if the Steelers won? No, just because the defense is going to be good. I need to see what the Steelers offense is going to be, which is, I mean, not to cop out or anything, but anytime anybody asks me about, week X for the Steelers, I need to know what the offense looks like first because it looks good so far in preseason. Try not to put a whole hell of a lot of stock in that. But they did look really good against Buffalo. Pickett looks more composed. It looks like Canada's trying to push the ball down the field a little bit more. So if they keep doing that, then I'm excited to see what they can be, and I would probably lean Pittsburgh a little bit more in this game. But as of right now, I would still lean Jacksonville.
Y'all got JPJ, right?
Yes. Joey,
how does he look?
There, it's good, man. Yeah, it looks good. I mean, the raw talent was always there. He had an interception against Buffalo in his first taste of NFL action, which was cool. His dad was in the crowd. He gave him the ball. It was a nice little moment.
Nice.
But yeah, no, he looks as advertised. Him and George Pickens had a lot of different one-on-one battles during camp, so it's an iron sharpens iron situation there, and he looks good. Nick Herbig, 4th-round pick out of Wisconsin, looks really good. Keanu Benton on the defensive line looks really good. They've got a lot of young talent balanced out with 3 All-Pros on that side of the ball. So I think the defense is going to be superb.
That was if I was the GM for the Jaguars, that's who I wanted to pick up in the first round. I was kind of disappointed, but I'm glad Anton Harrison is the right pick looking back now. Just so you know, you guys are playing the Rams the week before you play us, and you're playing.
They travel to Los Angeles for
your
that
LA.
game, so
yeah,
I'm not too worried about that. Like the cross country travel, yeah, that's a pain in the butt, but I don't think the Rams are going to be good.
Yeah.
They're going to be. I'm not too worried about that. The cross country thing is the one thing that would worry me.
Personally, I would pick the Jaguars. Kind of the same reasons as you, but excuse me. I think a lot of people are overlooking the Steelers, just because Kenny Pickett. That quarterback draft just is awful compared to recent seasons, and he's the best quarterback out of the draft, I believe, right now. And so I think that's why a lot of people are overlooking the Steelers, but I think sneakily they have a really good team put together. And obviously with their coaching, you can't ever count them out. So,
yeah, I mean, they got the best coach in the division, one of the best coaches in the league, a really good defense. They were 9-8 last year, went on a really nice run to finish off the year. I think they're at least a 10-win team this year.
What about you, Cody? What do you think?
I'm gonna say we probably take the L. We didn't win a game in October last year. Yeah, it was like 4-0. I mean 0-4. So like going up to Pittsburgh and it's cold. Yeah, a lot of these warm-blooded Florida boys are gonna probably take a loss in that environment, especially with a solid defense that y'all have.
Luckily, it'll be like right before Halloween, so it's not going to be like freezing,
like fall.
But,
right?
Yeah, it'll still be a little bit chilly.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we appreciate you coming on. Again, taking time out of your own day to spend it with us. Second pick recess goers. So, any last thoughts on the Jaguars, the Steelers, or anything else?
Can I ask one more question?
Oh,
yeah.
Because you have Trevor Lawrence as your MVP pick, and I want you to just can you elaborate on that fact?
Yeah, like I'm looking at their schedule, the division that they play in. Like I think they could be a sneak pick. They're like the hipster pick to be the number one seed in the AFC. I already pointed out a little bit, like the few tough games that they have, I think are all at home. I think they go to Kansas City? I think they play in Arrowhead, if I'm not mistaken.
No, we're at home, I believe.
Oh my,
yeah, we're at home.
Gracious. Okay, so all of their hard games are at home, and that's nice. No, they're not going to win all of them, more than likely, but I mean, having that built-in advantage, playing in a division that's arguably the worst in football, I think that Trevor Lawrence is going to put up some really solid numbers in year 2 of Doug Peterson. You get Calvin Ridley, that duos look really good in camp. I think Christian Kirk in the slot's going to be really good. Zay Jones, if we see any of Parker Washington, has looked good in preseason. Evan Ingram coming off of a really good year, and then Tank Bigsby and Travis Etienne in the backfield. Like there's so many different guys that can hurt you, and Lawrence is going to do a good job of getting all of them the ball. He cut down the turnovers a lot last season. 25 touchdowns and 8 picks, I think was his stat line last year. I think he can absolutely build on that and put together something of, a 36 and 10 pick type season with, 4,500 or so yards. So I think he'll definitely be in the conversation. But right now, I think that when it comes to MVP, it's either like an obvious choice or we've been a little bit surprised in recent memory. Like I don't think anybody expected Lamar Jackson to win MVP. I don't think anybody was really expecting the leap that Jalen Hurts took to be an MVP candidate. So I think Trevor Lawrence is flying a little bit under the radar, and I think he's definitely got, a chance to really establish himself in that class of, the Herberts, the Burrows, the Allens, and show that he's kind of next in line.
I appreciate your love for Steezy Trev.
So any last comments on the Jaguars or anything NFL related?
No, not really. A few stuff coming out for USA Today in the next couple of days. Interview with Michael Vick. That was really cool. That'll be coming out.
Oh yeah, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, no. So that was really fun. They're editing the video as we speak. So we'll see when that comes out. And then power rankings on USA Today during the regular season every Tuesday. Quarterback rankings every Tuesday as well on Behind the Steel Curtain. That's where all the Steelers stuff is. So busy times.
Can we find all those links on your X? Twitter?
Yeah. Cool. Anything that I do, I zeet out. So follow me on there at J Bailey NFL.
Cool. And we have it scrolling on the bottom for everybody. Again, he's got some really cool, neat content coming out, including Michael Vick. I know I'll be looking out for that one. So that's at J Bailey NFL on X, formerly known as Twitter. So again, appreciate your time. Cody, where can we find you?
At Cody Cole Gaming on X.
And you can find me at Matthew G Sports. You can also find all of our content on fanbattlesports.com. There you'll find our links to YouTube, X, OnlyFans, and all that good stuff. So again, thank you guys, everybody, for coming out and joining us with Jay Bailey. We appreciate his time, and we will see you guys next time.